Ahoy, Buccaneers and Buccarinas! My name is Captain Yugioh, and welcome back. So, whew, we're almost there. It's about time for Year of the Phoenix. We got the Ashes of Outland expansion just right around the corner, and yeah. So, before I really go and delve into reviewing that set myself, because 135 cards is a lot. I don't know if you noticed. That's a lot of cards. So before we get into all of that, I'm gonna take the time to actually review some of my favorite decks from the Year of the Dragon. So, before anything else, don't forget to like the video, comment down below if you like it, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. We do Overwatch videos on Tuesdays, Hearthstone videos on Thursdays, and Yu-Gi-Oh videos every single Friday. Or if you'd rather be brave and rant over my most hated decks, you can check out the video up there, and it'll basically be up at the same time, so yeah. So let's get started.
My thanks to you.
So my favorite Druid deck to play throughout the year was actually Treant Druid, and that was such a that was a deck that was just like, you got to just summon a bunch of little tree dudes. I just liked the fact that you could punch people with trees, and it was just so much fun because you got to like summon a bunch of little tree dudes, and then they came out with Goru the Might Tree, which might be, you know, one of my favorite cards from this year, because it's just like, he's just a big taunt minion, and he just boosts a part of Druid that just, you know, you've just been a part of Druid's identity, but it's also been like a kind of underwhelming aspect of it for a while, and Goru the Might Tree gives it like a, you know, much needed power boost. Because otherwise, I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, Treant Druid is, you know, strong in other ways, and what has been strong in the past in different contexts and the like, but it's also something that's like, with trees and like, with Treant Druid in particular, it's always been something that's almost felt more like a meme than, you know, necessarily a competitively viable strategy most of the time. And this is one of those few times where it's like, you know, somebody hears Treant Druid and they're like, oh gee, that's actually really strong, because it's like, you've got this power level with like Forest's Aid, which is a really big part of, you know, Token Druid, especially early on in the Year of the Dragon. But with Goru the Might Tree coming out in Aeroponics, and you had, Dendrologist from Boomsday, you have Anubis Defender, there's a whole lot of cards that just makes this deck come together really nicely and gives it a lot more power than it would have had otherwise. So, for me at least, I enjoyed the deck quite a bit, and I really did like I just love punching people with trees, especially when you got like the tree-based Druid hero and such for that little Christmas bundle thing that was going on. Then it was just like a tree that was punching people with trees. I just really loved that part, so that's my favorite Druid deck right there.
I hunt alone.
So for Hunter, my favorite deck actually was Highlander Hunter, and that I was really big on that once Saviors of Uldum came around, because I was actually really excited to get my hands on like just Hunter things, you know. In particular, I wanted to like work with Bran, which is one of my favorite Hunter cards out of that set, and it's just like, you get to have that just power level of just dealing with like Zephyrus the Great, which was just one of the other big Highlander cards, and then of course we got Dragon Queen Alexstrasza coming out later on in the year, and that was like, it just kept like, it always felt like Highlander Hunter was like just the right level of like power, where it was like, it wasn't super high power dominant, like people could play around it and the like, and it wasn't, you know, stupid, ridiculous, you know, it wasn't like Galakrond Shaman where you just got to like play stuff and basically win, or, you know, there were definitely things that's just like, with Highlander Hunter, at least, in my opinion, there was a lot of good stuff that was kind of going with it, and then of course you had Zul'jin on top of all that, which was just like recycling every spell you play throughout the game, and that's just like, Zul'jin was just definitely the best card out of Rastakhan's Rumble for sure. But yeah, no, Highlander Hunter I think was just a really powerful deck, and I really liked the ability of just drawing through my deck with a bunch of secrets with Subject 9. I love just like being able to have like a convenient answer in a sense for almost every situation, and playing some of the best cards in Highlander, you know, and just some of the best cards in Hunter in general, while also being able to like play something like Zephyrus and just immediately like decimate entire opponents and the like. So I'm a big fan of, just generally speaking, I'm just a big fan of that deck, and I'm just like, it's gonna be sad to see it kind of like slightly less powerful than it was, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, we gotta make room for new cards, and we gotta get rid of the old, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this deck evolves going forward for sure. At least for me.
You asked for it.
So for Mage, my favorite deck actually is more of like this secrets deck, where it was like you basically just played some of the Mage secrets, and you had stuff like the Flak Mage, who basically every time you played a secret, you dealt 2 damage across the board to all enemy minions, and then you had the, I think it was like Cloud Prince or something. It's the bigger minion that while you control a secret, you can deal 6 damage. And there was a time frame when I was playing that deck and just having like, it was pretty good. At least in my opinion. I mean, granted, I was at a lower set of ranks and the like, but it was just something that's like nobody was really prepared to fight against it because it wasn't the meta version of Mage at the time. Like I think at that time it was like the meta version of Mage was like Highlander Mage, which that's kind of what I ended up kind of doing with the deck anyway. Was like making it going from like Secrets Mage to like Highlander Mage, but specifically focusing on secrets because I wanted to focus more on stuff like Subject 9, drawing power. But I also wanted to be able to play stuff like Reno the Relicologist and Zephyrus again. So it's a deck that does fairly well, but it was also like the secrets version of the Highlander Mage deck just isn't at the same power level as the other deck. But it's just also that's like people aren't expecting, you know, to run into a bunch of different secrets and the like, and they have to then start playing around all these different things, and it's like, you know, it makes the deck a lot more interactive in my opinion, and that's also something that I just ended up enjoying a lot more. It was like I was able to wipe out like field, you know, big legions of tokens and the like, or just deal massive damage if I had got the right amount of secrets and stuff. And of course you play the spell card that's like draw a secret and it costs 0. So there was a lot of stuff that just kind of worked together, and I had a lot of fun playing that deck. It wasn't like the best Mage deck by any stretch of the imagination, but it was like, it was fine. It was for me. I liked playing it.
Well met.
For Paladin, I ended up kind of steering myself over into the Highlander Paladin for a while, and I ended up just, you know, Paladin was just kind of a mess this year, and like, sort of like, it was all over the place. Like, you could play the Mech Paladin, you could play Highlander Paladin, you could play Warlock Paladin, you could play, like, Aggressive Paladin, Control Paladin, Healadin, which I would say Healadin was pretty fun, but it's like, at the same time, it's mainly just like, I'm just gonna take a bunch of damage and heal myself, and if you can't beat me by the time I have healed myself back up to full 5 times over, then you lost, or something to that effect. So, but I think Highlander Paladin was a lot more fun, because it was, again, it has more of that interaction. You could run some of the secrets again, if you wanted to, but of course the regressive version I think was a little better, and that was just more of like, just, you know, playing around to your strengths as a Highlander Paladin, just a Paladin in general, and I think that was just kind of more, that was just a lot more fun for me. I had more fun playing, I think, Highlander Paladin, and of course you got to run Zephyrus the Great again, so I mean, any deck that can run Zephyrus the Great just is automatically, like, in my opinion, just like a slightly better deck in most cases. So, needless to say, Highlander Paladin, I enjoyed it. It was something that was more on my mind most of the time. I don't think it was the best. I mean, I still feel like Highlander Hunter was the best Highlander deck that I was actively playing. It certainly was my favorite deck, but for Paladin specifically, Highlander Paladin was pretty good.
The light shall bring victory.
I didn't really play Priest that much, honestly. But when I did run Quest Priest, because I ended up getting the quest from my Saviors of Old Doom package, so I was just like, okay, it's not the quest I would have wanted, I would have wanted one of the other quests or something like that, but, you know, I'll take it, and, you know, I took it, I had it, and I used it, and it was kind of like, okay, I am building it up a bit, and like, I would have said Amit OTK, but it's like, I never played Amit OTK enough to really, like, say it was my favorite or anything. I think it was also, when I was playing it, it was already like way after the fact that it was way after it was relevant and way after it was good, and it's just, it's just not as, it wasn't as strong as it could have been, so that was the thing about that. Yeah, I think Quest Priest was fine. There's just not much to say about it. You got to heal yourself, and you got to, like, make big minions. That's basically what it was. I didn't play enough Priest to really make it worthwhile, but for what it was worth, for what I did play, it was worth all the while.
The pleasure is mine.
I really did like Burgle Rogue out of the rogue decks that I was playing. I mean, there's obviously the quest that makes it, like, the incentive to play Burgle Rogue, but just playing Burgle Rogue in general was just, like, a lot more fun because you get to experience a wide variety of cards throughout the entirety of like, you know, standard, and you were just playing rogue, and it was just like, yeah, that's just what you do. You just play a bunch of different cards, and you just expand on your options, and you just get the chance of like discovering cards that you wouldn't be able to play otherwise, and you'd be able to play them in different situations. And it was basically like, in a sense, it was like the skill for Burgle Rogue was just getting the cards that you know, could from whatever classes you got them from, but then being able to use them effectively against your opponent in any particular scenario. That's the real trick on Burgle Rogue right there. And it's a lot more fun, because then you get to like do stuff with like, you get to feel like you're a rogue basically, and I think that's one of the most appealing parts of that particular deck, is just taking cards from wherever you can and then just playing them to your advantage. You know, take what you can, give nothing back. That's the Burgle Rogue way. I really wish pirates were better though. Gosh darn.
I thank you.
So I think that my favorite out of Shaman was probably just Quest Shaman. I enjoyed playing Quest Shaman. Like, getting battle cries, but then getting double battle cries. That's just good. Like, that's just a good time, really. I didn't have any problems with that. Granted, of course, it eventually just devolved into being Galakron Shaman, and then, you know, that was fine. Like, especially if you get a big Galakron play where you just summon a bunch of 8/8s with rush, and you got your 5/2 weapon and everything. Like, that was when it was really, really strong. But it was also like, you don't really need it, you know? It's not really necessary for the deck, and it's also not really, like, necessary for Galakron, and it wasn't something that Quest Shaman needed to do. Quest Shaman, of course, is kind of fallen out entirely, I think, but it's still, like, I kind of like it, generally speaking. You know, it's alright. It's alright. There's a lot you could do with that, and there's still a lot you could do with it, because battle cries are not going away anytime soon, so keep questing and shamaning, and it'll be a good time, I swear! Yeah!
I greet you.
Warlock, I think it just goes without saying. Rockyology! I mean, this is just, it's such a meme deck anyway, but I just, there's just so much value you could get out of this, like, little combo and such. I was able to get a few wins in ladder doing this, but most of the time when I was playing Warlock and Rockyology and stuff, it was against these bosses and the like, and just the satisfaction of getting to complete the Raw and, like, complete the Supreme Rockyology and, like, Supreme Archaeology, excuse me, and then, like, summoning Highkeeper Raw, like, it just makes my day, like, every time. I can't ever just not like that strategy. It was just so much fun. I had a lot of good times playing it, and just the feeling of summoning that Highkeeper Raw out and dealing, like, 20 damage to everything is always good. Like, it's just, I mean, you saw me doing it. I had a whole thing about it in one of the videos, okay? You saw me playing that deck multiple times and having fun. So, you know, I enjoy it. Yeah.
My thanks.
For Warrior, I think it's actually just Galakron Warrior is the one that I really, like, played around with and had, like, the most fun with. Because it was, like, it functions so differently from other Galakron decks. Like, a lot of the other Galakron decks is just kind of like, oh, we get all this stuff, and you know, or every time you invoke one of us, we give you, like, lackeys, or we give you, like, we give you a rush minion, or we give you, like, I don't know, a priest minion or something like that. And then Warrior's over here, like, I'm gonna smack you in the face. Bam! You don't talk to me. You don't talk to my sister that way. Bam! Rah! Something like that. I mean, granted, it's not quite like that, but Galakron Warrior was just a lot more fun, and you also had that really impactful 3/2 dragon that just, you know, split itself into a couple of extra copies, and then you play that along with, like, Dragon Breeder and Barista Lynchin, which I knew Barista Lynchin was going to be good one of these days, and she is! Best girl! Personal opinion, not a big deal. But yeah, needless to say, just the sheer value you could ramp up into Galakron Warrior was just really, really good, and on top of that, you were just, like, swiping away at your opponent, like, every time you invoke. It was fun. I enjoyed that. So definitely my pick for fave deck of the year on Warrior. And that's it! Those were my favorite decks from the Year of the Dragon. What do you guys think of this list? What were some of your favorite decks from this last year? Talk about it in the comments down below. Let's have a discussion over it. Or again, if you want to go watch me rant and rave over my most hated videos, in that case, there's that video over there. And otherwise, I will see you next week when we review Ashes of Outland in its entirety as an expansion of a bajillion cards. That's going to be quite a bit of stuff to work with.